we're going to talk about enough. I hear that song in my head, enough is enough, I can't go on. But I don't mean that song. We're talking about, are you enough? Are you good enough? Are you worthy enough? Do you deserve to have it all? And what is enough? You know, sometimes we feel like we never have enough. Sometimes we get a little carried away. We want more. We want a higher position. We want more space in our house, so we upgrade our house. We want a new kitchen. We want new cabinets. We want new clothes. We want it all. And of course, we can have it all. But what is the external components that are influencing your life? And what is the external experience telling you? Are you kind of distracting yourself from who you really are inside and putting on a happy face? You know, what's that song, Gray Skies are gonna clear up, put on a happy face, right? So we're thinking of how we can project to the world, even some of the cosmetic things that we can do. It's amazing what they can do. But what is that? It is the external projection. But what's going on inside? How are you feeling? Are we covering up? You know, sometimes if we have a blemish on our face, we're really grateful, especially females. We're really glad we've got our makeup, right? We put a little dab and kind of blend it in and nobody knows. But what it troubles does nobody know about within you? Where are you at odds? What is the tape that's playing in your mind that makes you feel like you're not good enough, not worthy? What is enough? And have you forgotten that the imperfections, perhaps according to your story, are the perfect story for you because you're taking yourself to some new opportunity and you've just got to go through the impossible parts that seem impossible, but in the end, all things are possible. Think about the time where you didn't feel like you measured up. Maybe you were interviewing for jobs and you kept getting rejection after rejection after rejection. I have a dear client. She's in California. She's been on a lot of interviews, highly qualified. But for whatever reason, something isn't clicking. We know the job market is highly competitive, especially depending on the area of expertise. But we also know that there's a lot that is open. There are so many opportunities. So then we ask ourselves, what is not working inside of us? What are we not projecting to others? How are we not expressing our confidence? Maybe it's in our body language. Maybe it's in our tone. Maybe we are attracted to opportunities that really aren't a good fit because in the end, they're going to lead us back to more of what we've experienced. Have you ever experienced a toxic work environment? I guess everybody might be able to say that, right? We have that difficult moment in our workplace. But then you leave there thinking, okay, so glad I'm leaving those people. And then as we leave them, we step into what looks like the most magnificent place to work. And then, enter stage left. That higher director that you didn't meet yet, or you didn't have the time to spend time with. And now they're right there in the thick of things. And you realize that some of the same dynamics that you fled from at the other location, your other opportunity, what did they follow you here? What does it have? I like drama on my back? No, it's people being people. It is people expressing their own low self-esteem and their own wounds, and you taking it personally and thinking that it's directed to you, but it's really their expression of dissatisfaction, their own critical self. But we've got to dial back. Turn back the hands of time. When did you ever feel you weren't good enough growing up? This is not a conversation to bash our parents. They learned from their parents, who learned from their parents, who learned from their parents, and of course this generational way of handling things. And sometimes looking back, we can laugh at their ways of handling things. But did they really build you to believe you could do anything? Did you get encouraged for your talents? Or were you pushed down a path that you felt you had to do to please a parent or earn recognition in the family or be the good person? You have to go to medical school or be a lawyer or perhaps be something in a different field that is recognized in the world, because then you'll be somebody. And then all the while inside, perhaps you're noticing you're being compared to a family member, a sibling. What happens then? What do those moments of not being enough start to do to you? What about the angry moments between your parents? How did you interpret them? Did you somehow feel like you were led to believe that you were to blame? Did you understand that they were just expressing their frustrations in life, and there really was no bearing on whether you were loved or not? It was their story. Did anybody take the time to explain that? Well, most likely not, because many of us grew up in an environment that children are seen, not heard. So how can we step into a world feeling confident when maybe our well-meaning parents, trying to keep us in the safe lane, kind of distracted us from our own creative air, our own unique gifts, our own self-expression? And so we push it down, push it down, push it down until we can't push it down anymore. And at this point, we are an adult. And we step out into the world and invest maybe in college or opportunities. And then we realize that that's not what we want to do. Or we realize we are discontent with the surroundings in life, that we've made choices based on pleasing others because we didn't want to lose their love or their attention. We wanted to be included in their story. And then we start to scratch our heads and think about how unhappy we are. And then we compare ourselves with others. And we look at other people and we notice that they dress differently or present themselves differently. Perhaps you applied for a job, a position in your organization, and someone in your department passes you by. But you have more experience. You've been there longer. Why did they get it? Is it because they won the popularity contest? Is it the behind-the-scenes conversations? Or is it that you're just not good enough? And then when you sit and you speak with your direct supervisor, maybe they'll talk about leadership skills and tell you to work on your leadership skills. Maybe they'll give you some constructive pointers. But all the while inside, the conversation you have with yourself is, I guess I just wasn't good enough. And what about that love, that quest for love? That's really going to mess up our minds, especially when we don't feel like we're worthy or good enough. We'll think that we have to overcompensate to keep someone because we don't even feel we're worthy of them, so we jump through hoops to show how magnificent we are. Or we pursue someone in the hopes of having a connection, and then when they decide to pick someone else, we can't help but think we could have done something better and that we weren't good enough. And the process of recognizing that everyone has their preference, and it's not a matter of being good enough, it's about connection and people feeling connected. And not everybody's going to feel the connection for the same reasons. Do you know that sometimes the people you feel most connected to are not even for the truest of reasons? That sometimes the connection with someone is based in an old wound, a need to win the approval or love of someone. And so you're drawn to them. And you can't help but get them out of your mind. And you feel like they're the one. But all the while, there is a part of you, that part that doesn't feel good enough, worthy, that needs to prove that they could have the love of this person. Because the energy of this person, the story behind their soul, the expression, some of the characteristics they portray, these very same energies are reminiscent of something in the childhood. Could even be of a teacher that didn't grade you appropriately and embarrassed you in front of the whole class and made you feel as if you weren't smart enough. And you took that with you. And then there you are, seeing someone you admire and really saying to yourself, I hope they love me. I can't tell you how many people sit in front of me and they talk about loving someone, and it's most certainly an unrequited love. The person does not return the love. And what an individual will go through inside themselves, maybe you know what I'm talking about. That feeling of sorrow and loss and mourning, that if only they could see this quality in me, if only we could have spent more time together, if only. And then why not me? Why couldn't it be me? Well, life is filled with people's opinions and their ability to choose. And in today's world, so much of life has been based on our ability to have variety. So some people are always in this state of, there might be something better, so I'm going to move on. And then there are those that just want to feel that safety, that security, and know that somebody really cares. And so they're not on the same page. And often those who seek that relationship will attract someone who is really non-committal, not there to be in a relationship. They have no intention of following the romantic path of moving in together and buying a house and building a family or sharing the latter years in life. And so you build this vision in your head, only to not be able to realize it because the other person has their choice. So why do we choose people who aren't going to participate with us? Why do we choose jobs that are going to take us down a path of not feeling paid enough or rewarded or recognized? Why do we choose positions in this world based on what other people think we should do? Who is it that we're really trying to please? Because I can promise you that when you cross up to the great central sun and you're in the energy of the divine, those people's opinions aren't going to matter. And when you sit with the Creator and the Creator says, well, we had all these opportunities for you, but you kept going down the path that left you feeling empty. And there was all this splendor all around you. You'll know that you didn't feel good enough. And then the Creator will say to you, but did you not remember that you were created in my image, in my divinity, and that the aspect of perfection is within you, regardless of your choices, regardless of what other people have led you to believe about yourself? And that within you is this magnificent ability to do anything? Even if your upbringing and your education does not lead you to believe that you could be somebody in a particular role, that you have the power to change that at any moment once you're able to claim your independence, and that you can really dedicate your self-love to reprogramming and redesigning your thought process and surrendering the rest to the heavens and really showing up and stepping into the power of I am worthy and I am good enough and I do deserve to have it all. And there's a power inside of me that has the power to create. And every time my mind goes into the dark place of the corner that says, why are you trying? Why bother? That's not your luck. That's not your life. Maybe for someone else, but not for you. That's not for you. That you have a strength within inside of you that you could stand up to that inner bully, that inner critical voice, and you can tell it, no, that's a story you want me to believe, but that's not the story that is programmed inside of me. That's not the destiny that is for me. So many times in life, we will be compared. And these comparisons are part of a process, unfortunately. As I yield from a background of show business and competitions for performing, singing, and many other types of competitions, well, they have to pick one person. So does that mean everyone else isn't good enough? Most times it means that it wasn't the selection of the people because they had a preconceived notion of the version that they wanted to represent that particular winner. Let's look at some of the great competitions that are on TV now. You can look at The Voice or American Idol, and maybe you see the top 10. And sometimes the person that really, in most people's mind, has the best voice or the best talent or the best stage presence, they don't even make the top 5. Because it's a matter of people's perspective, their opinion, their preference. And why should their preference determine your value? Perhaps we can learn from that. We can market ourselves. We can take some better classes and learn more, and even take the criticism that might have come with it and work at what comes next, and then show back up, as many of them do. I remember the first pageant that I ever competed in. I had this vision to be Miss America. Most little girls have that. But I had an opportunity to participate. And in that very first competition, I won the talent award. I won the swimsuit award. And now they're calling the finalists. And the third runner-up is called, and the second runner-up. And then my name was called for the first runner-up. And then someone else won. And when I went in the back and I sat with the judges, because in that organization, they want to mentor you to be the best person that they can help you become. It's part of the program. They sat there and they said, okay, all these boxes were checked, but we really were looking for more in the interview. I know those of you listening to me who know me, like, what? You were lacking in interview skills? I was a little too reserved for them. I didn't have the sparkle that they wanted. And I went, okay, I think I can do that. So the very next year, I came back. I didn't take their words as I wasn't good enough. There were some negative people in the background in my circle. One person even said, oh, I knew you weren't going to win. I was like, well, now I'm going to show you. But those words could hurt. But I didn't take those words and hang them around my neck and, just lose myself in not being good enough. Easy to do, crossed my mind. Very upset with the person who had said that to me. But I said, okay, I'm going to take these individuals' advice. I'm going to learn about myself, and I'm going to present it. And so the next year when I went back, first of all, the day of the pageant had to be the worst, crazy day of all things that could go wrong leading up to the day of the pageant. Crazy things were going on. But I didn't let it distract me. When I got there, it was time for the interview. They do that stuff first. I walked to the door, and before I even sat down, they complimented what I was wearing. And in my head, I heard like a voice. Little did I know that voice was Spirit talking. I was like, here you go. Now's your time to shine. And I stood there in the doorway, and I said, thank you so much. It's my favorite color. And we started to talk for a moment, and I was enthusiastic. They wanted enthusiasm. They picked a topic I liked. Clothes, colors, fashion. I'm showing up. And so I stood in the doorway. They invited me in. And instead of at the end of the pageant getting the same story, which I got nervous at the end of the pageant. Oh, you win the swimsuit, you win the talent. I wasn't the first runner-up. I'm like, okay, I think I did it. And then I won. And then again, because it's an organization that builds talent in people, I went back to the room with the judges. They congratulated me. And instead of being portrayed as this reserved wallflower, they said, oh my goodness, we so loved your interview. We found you so engaging, so fun, and knowledgeable and well-spoken. We were really hoping you could sing. I was like, isn't that the opposite of what I got the first time? It was just their opinions. And that began a many-year run of competitions and pageants. And I cannot thank the Miss America pageant enough for their teachings and their encouragement. Because all people need sometimes is a little direction. All we all need is someone to believe in us. Someone to show us where we can make adjustments and not criticize us in a way that we are wounded. We want people to recognize the beauty, the divinity, the perfection that resides within you. So remember you're perfect and that you are worthy and you are good enough. And tonight we're going to talk about you, your questions, your crossroads, because many of you are at a crossroad because you're making choices based on settling and lack and not feeling that you deserve a better partner, a better job, a better opportunity. So you're just surviving. And well, we've been just surviving for so long. Isn't it time you lived?